I didn't cry when the gunshots started. I cried 10 minutes earlier, when I read my real last name on a DNA report. Romano. The same name as the groom. The same family Chicago feared in 1997. But the report said he wasn't the real heir. I was. And in Mafia families, truth doesn't make you powerful, it makes you disappear. So while violins played and guests clapped for love, I stood there smiling, hiding proof that could destroy the empire. Because before that wedding ended, either the ceremony would stop or I would. If you're listening tonight, stay with me. This is not just a Mafia story. It is a story about identity, about being erased, about surviving in silence, and about what happens when the truth refuses to stay buried. I promise you this. By the end of this story, someone powerful will kneel, but not the person you expect. In 1997 Chicago, I worked as a wedding planner for powerful families who paid well and asked no questions. I thought I had escaped my past. I thought my mother died protecting me from something I didn't understand. I was wrong. Because on the night the Romano Empire prepared to crown its next heir, the truth found me. And the man who was raised to rule that empire would have to decide whether blood mattered more than power, or whether justice mattered more than loyalty. Chicago, 1997. The city was loud at night. Sirens, trains, distant music from bars that never seemed to close. But inside my small apartment, it was quiet. Too quiet sometimes. I used to think silence meant safety. I was wrong about that. My name was Elena Marlowe. At least, that was the name I gave the world. By 26, I had built something small but stable. I planned private events for wealthy families who did not like attention. Weddings, charity galas, closed-door dinners where powerful men laughed too loudly and trusted too little. I was good at it, not because I loved celebrations, because I understood people who were afraid of losing control, and powerful people are always afraid. I kept my apartment simple: white curtains, a small wooden table near the window, a narrow bookshelf with event planning binders stacked neatly beside old romance novels I never finished. And on the dresser beside my bed sat the only thing I had never replaced: a silver music box. It was scratched along the edges. The tiny ballerina inside leaned slightly to one side because one of her arms had broken years ago. I never fixed it. Broken things remind you to stay careful. Some nights, when sleep refused to come, I would open it. The melody was soft, almost shy. My mother used to wind it before bed when I was little, back when I still believed adults could fix everything. "Never let them know who you are, Lena," she once whispered. I was 7. I didn't understand what she meant. I do now. My mother died when I was 14. At least, that was the story written on the papers. House fire, electrical problem, unfortunate accident. But I remember the night before the fire, the shouting, the fear in her eyes, the way she packed one suitcase but left the wedding photos behind. Some memories never fade. You just learn to place them on a shelf inside your head and avoid looking at them too long. I built Elena Marlowe carefully. New last name, new documents, new city district, no father listed, no past mentioned. In Chicago, people rarely ask questions if you seem useful, and I made sure I was useful. That morning, I woke before sunrise. The Romano wedding was my biggest contract yet. It would also be the most dangerous room I had ever entered. I dressed in a simple black suit, nothing flashy, nothing that asked to be noticed. Event planners should blend in. We are meant to control the room without becoming part of it. The Romano compound sat behind iron gates on the north side of the city, stone walls, security cameras, guards who did not smile. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it. Power. Not loud power, quiet power, the kind that does not need to prove itself. The marble floors shone under warm lights. White flowers lined the aisle. Tall glass vases stood like silent witnesses. Men in dark suits stood near every entrance. They did not talk much. They watched. The wedding was not just about love, it was about control. I adjusted the seating chart near the entrance. 2 rival families had been placed too close together. That was not a mistake I was willing to leave uncorrected. I moved them. Conflict avoided. Miss Marlowe? The voice was calm, sharp. I turned. Victor Hale, head of security. Tall, clean haircut, eyes that missed nothing. The family appreciates efficiency, he said. Efficiency prevents problems, I replied. His gaze dropped briefly to my planner. The small silver key hanging from its zipper caught the light. You always carry that? He asked. Yes. What does it open? I paused. Something old, I said. He studied me for a second longer than necessary. Then he nodded once. Stay near the main aisle during the ceremony. I will. He walked away without another word. The staff moved quickly around me. Caterers prepared trays, florists adjusted arrangements, musicians tuned violins under soft afternoon light. Everything looked peaceful. But peace in rooms like this is always temporary. I first saw Adrian Romano near the balcony overlooking the courtyard. He stood alone, black suit, straight posture, hands resting lightly behind his back. He did not look nervous. He looked like a man preparing to inherit something heavy. When he stepped down into the courtyard, conversation softened without anyone being told to quiet down. Authority does that. He walked toward me, slow, controlled. You're the planner, he said. Yes. You changed the seating arrangement. Yes. Why? 2 men from rival families were placed too close. It increases risk. He studied my face. You understand risk. I understand people. Silence. His eyes were darker than I expected. Not cruel, not kind either, just careful. Make sure tonight remains calm, he said. I will. For a moment, something passed between us. Recognition, not of faces, of something deeper. Then he turned away, and I told myself not to think about it, because men like Adrian Romano do not belong in stories that end peacefully, and women like me do not survive by being noticed. But sometimes the past notices you first. Good. We move forward. The wedding was scheduled for sunset. By late afternoon, the compound felt different, tighter. Security doubled. Guards rotated positions. Council members arrived in dark cars with tinted windows. No one announced their importance. It was understood. I stood near the main aisle with my clipboard pressed against my chest. From this position, I could see everything. The balcony above, the council seats, the main gate, and Adrian. He stood with 4 older men near the stone railing, the Romano Council. They spoke in low voices. I could not hear the words, but I understood the body language. One of the elders leaned forward, pointing once at the courtyard. Another shook his head. Adrian did not react. He listened, still, silent. Then he spoke, just a few words. The elder who had been pointing stopped talking immediately. The others exchanged looks. Something shifted. Adrian walked away first, not dismissed, not defeated, in control. Power does not always shout. Sometimes it waits. Victor appeared beside me again. Mr. Romano wants confirmation of ceremony flow, he said. Of course. He led me down a private hallway. The noise from the courtyard faded behind heavy doors. The walls here were lined with framed portraits. Generations of Romano men stared down from gold frames, strong faces, hard eyes. None of them smiled. Victor stopped outside a quiet lounge. He's inside, he said. I entered alone. Adrian stood near the window. Chicago's skyline stretched behind him. The sky was turning orange. He did not turn immediately. You shortened the processional timing, he said. Yes. Why? Sunset alignment improves focus. Guests pay attention when light changes. He turned slowly. You think about how people think. Yes. He stepped closer to the table where the ceremony plans were laid out. His fingers brushed across the pages. You're not nervous, he said. I met his eyes. Nervous planners make mistakes. Silence. You've worked with powerful clients before? he asked. Yes. Not like this. It wasn't arrogance, it was fact. I held his gaze. I prepare, I said simply. Something almost looked like approval in his eyes. Almost. Then it was gone. My father believed weddings are political theater, he said quietly. He said alliances sealed in celebration last longer than alliances sealed in blood. His voice changed slightly when he mentioned his father, not softer, heavier. He died before finishing this one, Adrian added. I did not interrupt. Grief in powerful men is handled carefully. I'm finishing what he started, he said. That was not a sentence meant for me. It was something he told himself often. I understand, I replied. He studied me again, longer this time. You observe details most people ignore, he said. It's my job. No, he corrected. It's something else. The air between us shifted. Not romantic, not yet. More like two people standing on opposite sides of a line neither of them could see clearly. My planner slipped slightly under my arm. The silver key hanging from it swung once. His eyes dropped to it. What does it open? He asked again. A memory, I almost said. Instead, I answered, a storage locker. He reached out and caught the key lightly between his fingers, not touching my hand, just the metal. The contact felt louder than it was. You don't strike me as someone who keeps things without reason, he said. His voice was calm, but there was curiosity there. I felt my heartbeat rise. I don't, I said. He released the key. It swung once and settled. A knock came at the door. Guests are seated, Victor said from outside. Adrian stepped back instantly. Emotion closed, authority restored. Stay near the aisle, he told me. If anything feels wrong, you come directly to me. It was not a polite suggestion. It was protection. Or control. I could not tell which. Yes, I said. As I turned to leave, he spoke again. Miss Marlowe. I paused. Tonight may not be simple, he said. His eyes held mine. Be careful. For the first time, I saw something unguarded in him. Not fear. Responsibility. The kind that weighs more than it should. I stepped back into the hallway. My breathing felt different, unsteady. Not because of attraction, because of something more dangerous. Recognition. He did not know who I was. I did not fully know who I was either. But something inside me felt like it had just been seen, and that is always risky. As I returned to the courtyard, the violin music began. The bride stood at the entrance, white dress, trembling hands. Guests rose from their seats. The golden light of sunset fell across marble and silk, and Adrian Romano took his place at the altar. The heir, the man the council was preparing to crown, the man who had just told me to come to him if anything felt wrong. I pressed my hand lightly against my planner. The envelope was still inside. I did not know it yet, but in less than 30 minutes, everything would feel wrong. Good. Now the ground breaks. The ceremony had not started yet. Guests were seated. Music was low. Sunset light stretched across the marble floor. Everything looked perfect. That is when mistakes happen. A catering assistant rushed past me. Delivery for the family, she said quickly. Security cleared it. She handed me a thin envelope. Genova Medical Labs. I frowned. Who signed for it? Security said it's urgent. Council authorization. I nodded and slipped it into my planner. I meant to deliver it to Victor. I didn't. 10 minutes later, I stepped into a quiet corridor to double-check the seating chart. The hallway was empty. Cool. Silent. I opened my planner. The envelope slid out. It fell to the marble floor. The sound was soft, but my heart reacted like it had heard a gunshot. I bent down to pick it up. Genova Medical Labs, Private Genetic Authentication Division. My fingers paused. The seal was not fully closed. One corner had lifted during delivery. I should have stopped there. I didn't. I told myself it was simple curiosity, professional responsibility. Something inside me knew that was not true. I tore the envelope open. Inside was a formal report. Romano Family Succession Verification Council Authorization. My pulse rose. I flipped to the results page. Subject: Adrian Luca Romano. Paternal bloodline confirmation. Negative. For a second, I did not understand the word. Negative. It meant he was not the direct bloodline heir. My breathing changed. I scanned lower. Secondary comparative DNA reference. Elena Lucia Romano. Founder lineage match. 99.97%. The hallway became smaller. My name, not Marlowe, Romano. I read it again. Elena Lucia Romano. My lungs stopped working. My mother's voice echoed in my memory. Never let them know who you are. I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. No, this had to be wrong. There were many Elenas, many Romanos, but the date of birth matched. The birthplace matched. Even the hospital record code matched the copy I once saw in a locked box when I was 17. The world did not spin. It tightened, like something had just closed around me. My father's name was listed in the report, Alessio Romano. I had seen that name once before, on the back of a photo my mother burned in the sink. I folded the report slowly, carefully. If anyone saw me holding this, I would not have time to explain. This was not a rumor. It was proof. If Adrian was not the heir, and I was, then someone had erased me. Someone powerful. My chest began to shake. I needed air. I rushed to the restroom and locked the door behind me. I gripped the sink. My reflection stared back. Same face, same eyes, but something had shifted. Elena Marlowe was built carefully. New name, new life. No father listed. Safe. Now that safety felt thin. I opened my planner again. The envelope rested beneath the silver music box. My hands moved on instinct. I took the music box out. The metal felt cold, old, real. I opened it. The soft melody filled the empty restroom. I remembered being 6 years old, sitting on the bedroom floor, my mother kneeling in front of me, a tall man standing near the door, his face hidden in shadow. "She has his eyes," the man said quietly. "She has my name now," my mother replied. The memory snapped. I shut the music box. Blood does not disappear. I had heard those words before, I just never understood them. Now I did. If the council discovered this report, I would not be protected. I would be removed. And Adrian? He would either defend me or eliminate me. Because in families like this, inheritance is not shared. It is taken. A knock hit the restroom door. "Miss Marlowe?" Leah's voice sounded nervous. "The bride is ready." I wiped my face, checked my reflection, controlled my breathing. I placed the report back inside the envelope, slid it into my planner, locked it beneath the music box. Symbol of origin, symbol of conflict. When I stepped back into the courtyard, the music grew louder. Guests stood. The bride appeared at the entrance, and Adrian Romano waited at the altar. Calm, unaware. The golden light of sunset fell across his shoulders. He looked like a man about to inherit the world. I stood near the aisle as instructed, the envelope pressed against my side, heavy, alive. He glanced at me once, just once. Something in his eyes felt different. Instinct, recognition, as if he sensed something had changed. The officiant began speaking. Vows filled the air. Applause rose softly. But all I could hear was one sentence repeating in my head. "He is not the heir. You are." And before that night ended, someone would figure it out. Good. Now the lie gets crowned. The ceremony began exactly at sunset. Crime families respect timing. It shows control. The sky turned gold behind the stone pillars. The air felt warm, but my hands were cold. Sophia walked down the aisle slowly. Her dress shimmered in the fading light. Her smile looked perfect from a distance. Up close, her fingers trembled. Adrian stepped forward to meet her. For the first time that evening, his expression softened, just slightly. He took her hands. The guests watched. The council watched more carefully. I stayed near the main aisle like he told me to, the envelope pressed against my ribs. Every word spoken by the officiant felt louder than it should. Family, legacy, blood. That word again, blood. From my position, I could see the council balcony clearly. Matteo Romano stood near the center, older, sharper features, eyes that moved too much. He did not clap when Sophia reached the altar. He studied Adrian instead, not like an uncle, like a competitor. I swallowed. The report inside my planner felt heavier. Miss Marlowe? I turned slightly. Isabella Ferraro stood beside a column, Romano legal counsel, calm, observant, dangerous in a quiet way. You reorganized the seating, she said softly. Yes. You understand power balance well. I understand conflict prevention. She held my gaze. You move like someone who knows this family. My pulse skipped once. I research my clients, I said. Her lips curved faintly. Be careful tonight, she said. Why? Because inheritance makes people nervous. Her eyes flicked toward the balcony, especially those who have something to lose. She stepped away before I could respond. The officiant asked for the rings. An attendant opened a small velvet box. Inside was the Romano founder's signet ring. Heavy gold, engraved crest, symbol of authority, symbol of ownership, symbol of closure for one man, and maybe the beginning of destruction for another. Adrian took the ring. For a moment, he stared at it. Something unreadable passed across his face. Then, a glass shattered near the northern terrace. Guests gasped. Two men stood abruptly, raised voices, angry Italian words. Valenti family representatives. Victor moved quickly. Guards closed in. Wen did not appear, but they were close. Very close. The ceremony paused. Adrian did not turn toward the disturbance. He kept his focus on Sophia. That was strength. Or denial. Hard to tell. The tension settled after a few seconds. Forced smiles returned. The ceremony continued. The ring slid onto Sophia's finger. Applause filled the courtyard. The alliance was sealed. On paper. But I knew the truth. It was built on a lie. As guests rose and music shifted to celebration, I felt eyes on me. I looked up. Adrian was watching me. Not casually. Directly. Like he sensed something had changed. My breathing slowed on purpose. Control. Always control. Council members left the balcony slowly, speaking in low tones. Matteo's expression had shifted. Less confident. More alert. Leah hurried toward me. 2 council aides are checking guest records, she whispered. Why? I asked quietly. They're verifying founder lineage seating. Cold fear slid through my chest. They're not supposed to do that now, I said. They said Matteo ordered it. Of course he did. Delay them, I said calmly. How? Tell them administrative files require my override. That's not true. It doesn't need to be. It just needs to buy time. Leah nodded and left. The orchestra began playing again. Guests moved toward reception tables. Laughter returned. But it sounded different, thinner, as if everyone felt something shifting beneath the surface. Adrian stepped down from the altar. He spoke briefly with council members. Then he moved toward me, each step steady, measured. Everything running smoothly? He asked. Yes. He studied my face. You look pale. It's a long day. Silence. You don't have to be fine here, he said quietly. That sentence surprised me. I'm working, I replied, and I am responsible for everyone inside this compound, he said. There was weight behind that statement. Protection, possession, both. Before I could answer, Isabella appeared again. Adrian, she said, the council requests your presence. He did not look surprised. Now? Yes. He turned back to me briefly. Stay near the main reception, he said. Again, protection, or surveillance. He walked away with Isabella. My chest tightened. The council meeting during a wedding reception was not normal. It meant suspicion. It meant pressure. It meant someone had started asking the wrong questions, and I was holding the answer. I stepped toward the edge of the courtyard for air. The city lights flickered in the distance. My hand pressed against my planner. The envelope felt warm now, alive. I closed my eyes for a second. If I destroyed the report, the lie would continue. If I revealed it, war would begin. Footsteps approached behind me. I turned. Victor Hale. "The council meeting is escalating," he said calmly. "Why are you telling me?" I asked. "Because Mr. Romano asked me to ensure your safety tonight." My breath caught. "Why?" He did not explain. He paused. "But he does not usually protect outsiders." Outsider. If only he knew. Victor stepped away again. The reception music grew louder, but above it, I heard something else. A deep, distant sound. Not thunder, not music. Something harder. Metal striking stone. Then, the first explosion. Good. Now the illusion breaks. The explosion shook the courtyard. Crystals shattered. Guests screamed. The chandeliers above us rattled violently as smoke poured in from the northern wall. For a second, no one moved. Then chaos took control. Men pulled women behind tables. Chairs fell. Glass crashed against marble. Gunshots followed. Real ones. Sharp. Close. Adrian moved before I could think. His hand grabbed my wrist. Strong. Steady. He pulled me behind a stone column as another blast echoed outside the compound gates. "Stay down," he said. His voice was calm. Too calm. Security flooded the courtyard. Weapons appeared from under tailored jackets. Guards shouted orders in fast Italian. I tried to breathe. The air smelled like smoke and gunpowder. Victor ran past us. "Northern breach!" he shouted. "Snipers on outer wall!" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Lock internal gates," he ordered. "Move guests underground." Another gunshot cracked, closer this time. Adrian pulled me toward the inner hallway. My heels slipped on broken glass. He did not slow down. "Why now?" I asked, breath shaking. "Because weddings crown heirs," he replied, "and some men prefer executions." We reached the main corridor. Steel doors slammed behind us as security sealed the compound. Emergency lights flickered overhead, red, cold. Footsteps thundered toward us. 3 armed men rounded the corner. Not Romano guards, Valenti soldiers. Their guns lifted. Adrian shoved me behind him. Gunfire exploded in the hallway. The sound was deafening. Sparks burst from marble walls. Dust filled the air. Adrian fired back, precise, controlled. 1 man dropped. The second fell seconds later. The third fired wildly and retreated down the opposite corridor. Alarms howled. My hands were shaking. The planner nearly slipped from my grip. Adrian lowered his weapons slowly. He turned to me. "Are you hurt?" I shook my head, but I could not breathe. My chest locked. Air would not come. "I can't," I whispered. He stepped closer. "Look at me," he said. I forced my eyes up. "Breathe with me," he said quietly. "Slow." He counted. "In, 2, 3. I followed. Out, 2, 3. My lungs obeyed slowly. The panic loosened. Gunfire echoed again in the distance. Then, small footsteps. A child stumbled into the hallway. 6 years old, maybe 7. Blood streaked across her dress sleeve. She was crying. "Mama." Without thinking, I moved. I dropped to my knees in front of her. "Hey, you're okay," I said softly. Her arm was scratched by glass. No bullet wound, just fear. She threw herself against me. I wrapped my arms around her. My body reacted before my mind did. Protect. Always protect. Adrian watched us for 1 second. Something shifted in his eyes. Not calculation, not authority. Something human. Guards dragged a wounded attacker into the corridor. He struggled weakly. "Orders came from inside," he spat. Adrian stepped forward. "Explain." The man laughed through blood. "Your uncle doesn't like competition." The hallway went silent. Matteo. My stomach dropped. Victor rushed back toward us. "Multiple breach points," he said. Council chamber compromised. Adrian's expression hardened. Secure the elders, he ordered. Victor nodded and moved. The child clung tighter to me. Her small hand brushed against my planner. The zipper pulled loose. Time slowed. The planner slipped from my grip. It hit the marble floor. The zipper burst open. The silver music box slid out first. It spun once and opened. The soft melody filled the hallway. Then the envelope slid free. It stopped at Adrian's feet. My heart stopped. He looked down slowly. Genova Medical Labs. He picked it up, turned it once in his hand. His eyes lifted to mine. Question, suspicion, something deeper. If he opened it, everything would change. Another explosion shook the compound. Smoke drifted through the corridor. Security shouted from the stairwell. Chaos demanded his attention. He looked at the envelope 1 second longer. Then, he placed it back inside my planner, closed the zipper, and handed it to me. Protect her, he said, nodding toward the child in my arms. He did not ask what it was. He did not demand answers. He chose trust, blind trust. Then he turned and ran toward the gunfire. I stood there, frozen, holding a child, holding a secret, holding the proof that could destroy the man who just protected me. And for the first time, I felt guilt, not fear, guilt. Because if he learned the truth, this would not feel like protection. It would feel like betrayal. Good. Now the truth steps into the light. The underground shelter smelled like dust and fear. Concrete walls, steel doors, flickering lights. Security rushed guests inside in groups. Children cried. Wealthy men argued into phones that no longer worked. War had moved indoors. I sat on a metal bench with the little girl in my arms. She would not let go of me. It's okay, I whispered. It wasn't, but she needed something steady. Leah ran toward me. Half the compound is locked down, she said. Council chamber evacuated. Adrian? I asked. Still upstairs, she replied. Grief and fear tangled inside my chest. The child touched the silver key hanging from my planner. My mama has one like that, she said quietly. I looked at her. What does it open? Her jewelry box. She says it belonged to her aunt. What's your mama's name? I asked gently. Lucia Ferraro. My stomach tightened. Ferraro. Before I could think, the shelter doors opened. Isabella Ferraro entered. Her composure cracked the moment she saw the child. Alessia, she breathed. The girl ran to her. Mama! Isabella dropped to her knees and held her tightly. For one moment, she was not legal counsel. She was just a mother. Then her eyes lifted. They found me and froze. Her gaze moved from my face to the planner, to the silver music box visible through the zipper gap. Recognition hit her slowly. That, she whispered. My throat tightened. You know it? I asked. Her voice lowered. That belonged to Adriano Romano's first daughter. The room felt smaller. History says she died in a house fire, Isabella said. I didn't, I replied quietly. Silence spread around us. Leah stared at me in shock. Isabella stood slowly. Your mother fled that night, she said. Yes. She erased your identity. Yes. Her eyes softened. I helped her. The words hit harder than I expected. You knew? I whispered. She came to me, Isabella said, terrified, injured. She said Matteo had already removed one heir. My heart pounded. My father? I asked. Isabella nodded once. Alessio Romano was the rightful successor, she said. Matteo believed power belonged to him. The fire, I said, was not an accident. The truth did not explode. It settled, heavy, cold. Matteo thought you died, Isabella continued. Your mother made sure of that. And now? I asked. Now he knows someone is challenging succession. The explosion upstairs was not about territory. It was about inheritance. Leah stepped back slowly. You're saying Elena is the last founder bloodline heir, Isabella finished. The words echoed in my ears. Founder heir. I did not feel powerful. I felt hunted. Footsteps pounded down the stairs. Victor entered, breathing hard. Matteo escaped surveillance, he said. He's regrouping external forces. His eyes moved to Isabella, then to me. Understanding flickered. He knows, Victor said. Yes, Isabella replied. He's coming for her, Victor added bluntly. Adrian. My mind went to him instantly. He had protected me without knowing. What would he do now? Heavy footsteps echoed again. The shelter doors opened. Adrian entered. Smoke marked his suit. Blood stained his cuff. He scanned the room quickly. Then his eyes landed on me and stopped. Silence filled the space between us. He noticed Isabella standing beside me, the music box in my hands. The tension. What did Matteo want? Adrian asked quietly. To erase the last founder heir, Isabella said. Adrian's jaw tightened. And who is that? He asked. No one moved. No one breathed. I stood slowly. My legs felt weak. My voice did not. I am, I said. The room shifted. Shock passed across his face. Not anger, not yet. Just disbelief. I didn't know, I said quickly. Not until tonight. His eyes searched mine. You're lying, he said softly. No. Silence. My name is Elena Lucia Romano, I said. My father was Alessio Romano. The name hung in the air. Adrian did not move. Everything he had built, everything he had prepared to inherit, shifted in that moment. I never came here to take anything, I said. I didn't even know I had something to take. His breathing slowed. His silence felt heavier than shouting would have. Behind him, alarms echoed faintly. Matteo was still out there. The war was not finished. Adrian stepped closer. His voice was low. Show me. I opened the planner, took out the envelope, placed the report in his hand. He read, slowly, carefully. The shelter was silent except for the faint sound of the music box still open in my other hand. When he finished, he did not look at the paper again. He looked at me, and for the first time since I met him, he looked unsure. Good. Now comes the hardest part. Not the gunfire, the choice. The shelter felt smaller after the truth was spoken. Adrian still held the report in his hand. He did not crumple it. He did not tear it. He just stared at my name again. Elena Lucia Romano. The alarms above us faded into distant noise. For a moment, it was just the two of us. What does this mean? He asked finally. His voice was steady, too steady. It means your father was not the bloodline heir, Isabella said quietly. Alessio was. Adrian's eyes did not leave mine. And my uncle? He asked. Secured succession by removing competition, Isabella replied. Removing. Such a clean word for murder. Adrian exhaled slowly. The sound felt heavy. I was raised to believe my father protected this family, he said. He did, Isabella answered, in the way he understood protection. Silence. Protection. Or control. Adrian stepped away from me. He ran a hand through his hair once. For the first time, he looked human. Not heir, not authority, just a man whose foundation had cracked. You knew nothing? He asked, without looking at me. I didn't even know my real last name, I said. He finally turned back. Then why open the report? He asked. It fell, I said honestly, and the seal was loose. A small, bitter breath escaped him. Of course it was. Victor stepped forward. Matteo's forces are regrouping, he said. He's heading toward the council chamber. He paused. He will try to secure authority before this spreads. Spread. The truth was a weapon now. Adrian's posture changed. Authority returned. But it felt different. Not automatic. Chosen. What happens if the council sides with him? I asked. Adrian looked at me carefully. Then you don't leave this building alive, he said. The words were calm, real, no sugarcoating. Leah gasped quietly behind us. My chest tightened. There it was, the risk, the cost of truth. And what do you choose? I asked him. The question hung in the air, not as an accusation, as a test. His jaw tightened. I choose stability, he said first. It was the expected answer. Stability built on a lie? Isabella asked. Adrian's eyes flashed briefly. You think I enjoy this? He said. No, Isabella replied. But this is bigger than enjoyment. He looked at me again, long, searching. If he sided with Matteo, he kept his power. If he sided with me, he lost his throne, and maybe his life. You protected me upstairs, I said quietly. That was instinct, he answered. Then trust your instinct now. The silence that followed felt endless. The little girl, Alessia, peeked around her mother's arm. She looked at Adrian, then at me, then back at him. Even children sense injustice. Adrian lowered his eyes briefly, then he straightened. Victor, he said. Yes. Seal the council chamber. Victor did not hesitate. Yes, sir. Adrian looked at Isabella. You will present the DNA report publicly. She nodded once. And you? She asked. He turned to me. I will not let you be erased, he said. It was not romantic. It was not soft. It was a decision. He stepped closer. If the council turns against you, I stand between you and them. My heart beat harder, not from fear, from something else. Respect. But respect does not erase reality. You may lose everything, I said. He held my gaze. Then I lose it knowing I chose truth. The alarms stopped completely. The compound fell into a tense silence. War was about to move from bullets to power. Adrian handed the report back to me. No, he said quietly. You carry it. Why? Because it belongs to you. That sentence shifted something deep inside me. For years I had carried silence. Now I carried proof. We moved toward the staircase together. Victor ahead, Isabella beside me, Adrian slightly behind. Protective position. Chosen, not automatic. As we reached the council chamber doors, I understood something clearly. This was no longer about inheritance. It was about exposure, about forcing powerful men to admit they built control on a lie. Adrian glanced at me once more. This will not be easy, he said. I know. The heavy doors opened, and inside waited Matteo Romano. Good. Now the truth stands in the open. The council chamber was built for control. Long, dark table, heavy chairs, founder portraits watching from the walls. Matteo Romano stood at the head of the table. Calm. Too calm. Armed loyalists stood behind him. The council elders sat in silence. When we entered, every eye turned. Adrian walked first. He did not rush. He did not hesitate. Matteo's lips curved slightly. Adrian, he said, you look tired. You look cornered, Adrian replied. The room tightened. Matteo's eyes shifted to me. Recognition flickered. So the ghost survived, he said quietly. My spine straightened. You burned my house, I said. He did not deny it. You were collateral, he replied. Power does not wait for children. The words did not shock me. They confirmed. Isabella stepped forward. The council must hear this, she said. Matteo laughed softly. You think they don't know how this family works? One of the elders shifted uncomfortably. Adrian's voice cut through the room. Enough. Silence. He gestured toward me. She is Elena Lucia Romano, he said. Matteo's smile faded. Impossible. Adrian did not look at him. He looked at the council. She is Alessio Romano's daughter. Murmurs erupted. That line was extinguished, one elder said. No, Isabella replied. It was erased. She placed the DNA report on the table. Victor distributed copies quickly. The room filled with paper sounds, breathing, reading. One elder's hands began to shake. Founder lineage match, he whispered. Mateo stepped forward sharply. This is manipulation, he snapped. Forged documents. Adrian's eyes hardened. Security footage shows your men breaching our walls tonight. That was Valenti. No, Victor said. Your authorization codes opened internal gates. Silence. The walls felt closer. Mateo's voice grew louder. I built this empire, he shouted, while your father hesitated. He pointed at me. She is a weakness. I stepped forward. No, I said quietly. I am proof. The room stilled. For 26 years, I continued, you told this family the bloodline was secure. My voice did not shake. You erased a child to protect your claim. Mateo's eyes darkened. You know nothing about sacrifice. I know what it costs, I said. One of the elders looked at Adrian. If this is true, he said slowly, then succession was built on fraud. The word hung heavy. Fraud. Not weakness, not politics. Fraud. Adrian did not defend himself. He did not deny it. He spoke clearly. If the bloodline is what defines leadership, then I am not the rightful heir. The room gasped. Mateo stared at him. You would surrender your position for a girl you met today? He asked. Adrian's voice lowered. I would not build my future on murder. That sentence broke the room. Council members began whispering openly now. Power shifts are rarely loud. They begin with doubt. Mateo stepped closer to Adrian. You think the men in this room will follow a woman? He said. I felt the weight of those words. Old thinking, old fear. Adrian did not move. They will follow truth, he said. An elder cleared his throat. If founder bloodline is confirmed, he said, then authority must be reconsidered. Reconsidered. That is how power falls, not by explosion, by agreement. Mateo's control slipped. You are weak, he hissed at Adrian. No, Adrian replied. I am done pretending. Victor stepped forward. Mateo Romano, he said formally. You are under internal investigation for succession fraud and conspiracy to commit murder. Gasps filled the chamber. Mateo reached toward his jacket. Guards raised weapons instantly. But this time, they did not aim at Adrian. They aimed at him. The shift was clear. Power had moved, slowly, decisively. Mateo looked around the room. No one stepped to his side. No one defended him. He had built control on fear. Fear collapses when exposed. You think this ends with paperwork? He said. No, I replied. It ends with truth. Security moved in. They restrained him. He did not fight long, because he already knew. The empire had turned. The founder portraits on the wall felt different now. Not accusing, witnessing. As Mateo was let out, he looked at me once. You will regret this, he said. I met his gaze. I already survived you, I replied. The chamber doors closed behind him. Silence remained. The council elders looked at me, then at Adrian, then at the signet ring resting in its velvet box on the table, the symbol of inheritance, unclaimed. The air felt different, lighter, and heavier at the same time, because power had changed hands. But what that meant was not simple. Good. Now comes the fall. Not loud, not dramatic, just final. The council chamber stayed silent long after Mateo was removed. No one rushed to speak. No one wanted to be the first to admit what had just happened. An empire built on fear had cracked in one evening. One elder cleared his throat. If the bloodline is confirmed, he said slowly, then the founder's succession must be restored. Restored. Such a careful word. as if restoration were simple, as if 26 years of lies could be corrected with one vote. Another elder looked at me. "You understand what this means?" he asked. I nodded once. "It means I have a name," I said. "Not power, not control, just a name." The founder's signet ring sat in its velvet box in the center of the table, heavy gold. Generations had worn it. Adrian stepped toward it. The entire room watched. He lifted the ring slowly. For a second, I thought he might put it on his own finger. He didn't. He turned toward me. The room felt smaller again. "This ring represents authority," he said clearly. "But authority without truth is weakness." His voice did not waver. "Elena Lucia Romano is the confirmed founder heir." He extended his hand, holding the ring, toward me. My heart pounded. Not because I wanted it, because I never planned for this. For years I had survived by staying invisible. Now every eye was on me. "You don't have to accept it tonight," one elder said. He sounded uncertain, as if unsure how the room would react. I looked at Adrian. There was no resentment in his face, no bitterness, only something quiet. Regret, maybe. Not for losing power, for never knowing the truth sooner. "You built this family's stability," I said to him softly. "You kept it together." "I built it on a lie," he replied. "You didn't know," I said. He met my eyes. "Now I do." The ring felt heavier than it looked when he placed it in my palm. Cold metal, warm skin, the symbol of closure. Symbol C. My hand trembled slightly, not from fear, from responsibility. The elders watched, waiting, for weakness, for refusal, for confirmation. "I don't want revenge," I said clearly. The room listened. "I want transparency." Whispers moved across the table. "I don't want blood," I continued. "I want accountability." Adrian stepped beside me, not behind, not in front, beside. "If the founder heir chooses reform," he said, "then that is the direction of this family." One elder hesitated. "You would serve under her?" he asked. Adrian did not hesitate. "I will serve under truth." That sentence settled the room. Authority regret does not always show as tears. Sometimes it shows as surrender. The vote was not loud, hands raised slowly, one by one, until majority was clear. Succession restored. Matteo's claim revoked. Founder bloodline acknowledged. The empire had changed direction, not through violence, through exposure. The ring felt less heavy now, not because it weighed less, because I understood it. It was not a crown, it was a reminder. Power must answer to something, or it destroys everything. As the council members began to leave, the tension faded. The chamber felt different, not softer, cleaner. Adrian remained standing beside me, the room emptying around us. "You lost your throne," I said quietly. He gave a faint, almost tired smile. "I lost an illusion." The silence between us felt calm, not dangerous. "What happens now?" I asked. "We rebuild," he said. "And you?" He looked at me carefully. "I stand where I said I would. Between me and anyone who tries to erase you again." He did not say it out loud. He did not need to. Outside the chamber, dawn was beginning to rise. The night that started with an explosion was ending with truth. And for the first time in my life, I did not feel erased. Good. Now we end where it truly began. Not with power, with identity. Dawn came quietly over Chicago. The smoke had cleared, the sirens were gone. The compound no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt honest, for the first time. I stood alone in the courtyard. The white flowers were damaged. Some chairs were overturned. Glass still sparkled on the marble floor like leftover stars. The wedding had not ended the way it was planned, but it had ended the lie. I opened my planner. The silver music box rested inside. Symbol A, the beginning. I took it out and held it in my hands. The metal felt warm this time, not cold, not fragile. I opened it. The melody played softly in the morning light. For years, that sound reminded me to hide, to survive quietly, to stay small. Now it sounded different. It did not feel like fear. It felt like memory. Footsteps approached behind me. I did not turn. I knew who it was. Adrian stopped beside me, not too close, not distant, just there. "It's quieter," he said. "Yes." "Too quiet?" he asked. "No," I replied. "Just honest." He looked out over the courtyard. "This was supposed to be my coronation," he said quietly. "And instead?" I asked. He glanced at me. "It became yours." I closed the music box gently. "I never wanted to take anything from you," I said. "You didn't," he replied. He was silent for a moment. "Do you resent me?" I asked. He did not answer immediately. "I resent the lie," he said finally. "Not you." The simplicity of that answer mattered. For a man raised in control, admitting regret was not weakness. It was growth. "I spent my whole life preparing to lead," he said. "But no one prepared me to question what I inherited." "Now you can build something different," I said. "And you?" he asked. I looked down at the signet ring resting on my finger. Symbol C. It did not feel like a trophy. It felt like responsibility. "I don't want to rule through fear," I said. "Then don't," he answered. It was that simple. Justice does not always look like punishment. Sometimes it looks like change. Matteo would face investigation, legal exposure, financial collapse. His power was gone, not because someone shot him, because someone exposed him. And that was enough. Adrian reached toward my hand slowly, not to remove the ring, just to steady it. "It fits," he said. I nodded. "So does the truth." He almost smiled. Almost. The sun rose higher. Light touched the founder portraits along the courtyard wall. For years, those faces felt like watchers. Now they felt like witnesses. I slipped the DNA report back into my planner. Symbol B, the conflict that revealed everything. I would keep it, not as a weapon, as proof. Proof that silence is not safety. Truth is. I looked at Adrian one last time. "What happens to us?" I asked quietly. He did not pretend not to understand. "That depends," he said. "On what?" "On whether you see me as the man who lost a throne, or the man who stood beside you when it mattered." The question was fair. I thought about the hallway, the gunfire, the envelope at his feet. He could have opened it. He didn't. "I see the man who chose truth," I said. That was enough. He stepped slightly closer, not claiming, not commanding, standing, together. The music box melody faded softly as the spring wound down. The night had begun with fear. It ended with clarity. My name was not Marlowe. It was Romano. But for the first time in my life, it felt like mine.